So the Halo franchise RTS genre love child gets a sequel after 8 years. Yep, we're doing this. Halo Wars 2. So Halo Wars 2 is the sequel to the 2009 third-party Halo RTS game that was made by Ensemble, and it's been 8 years and now 343 is ready to pick up the torch with an all-new sequel with an all-new villain. It's not the Covenant that you're dealing with this time, but it's this new spin-off faction called the Banished, which is led by this asshole, and you can easily tell that this isn't the Covenant. This is clearly a brute-led army. Although, believe it or not, there are elites included, and I really think there's a lot of stuff in here that legacy Halo fans will appreciate. First of all, this is the sequel to a game that was made in the Bungie era, even though it wasn't technically made by Bungie, and it takes place on the Ark, which we really haven't heard about in terms of gameplay, at least since Halo 3. So for those of you who love nostalgia, this will definitely bring back some flashbacks from the Bungie era of Halo. Right out the gate, they've definitely made some improvements from the original Halo Wars. They've added a new multiplayer mode called Blitz, which is like a card-based multiplayer mode type deal. It sounds complicated, but it's actually a lot of fun. But one of the biggest things that I have to give 343 credit for is they improved upon one of my biggest gripes with the original Halo Wars, and they actually made a version for PC this time. Not only that, but if you buy the deluxe edition, you can also play the original Halo Wars on PC too. And even though I still have gripes in terms of the population limit of the game, now that it's on PC, someone can come along and build a trainer or some sort of cheat to actually get rid of that and just further improve the game. Granted, I wouldn't be able to give credit to 343 Industries for doing that, but at least they paved the way for it to be done. So going into this, I knew this was instantly going to be an improved version of the original. And then I got to play the game early and started my legendary walkthroughs, and things started to change. Let's start with the cutscenes here. Like with Halo 2 Anniversary, these cutscenes were created by Blur, and let me tell you something, they do some serious service to Halo fans. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that from now on, Blur should be doing all the cutscenes from every Halo game from here on out. The cutscenes really make this thing. They bring you into the game. They feel realistic too. Like when a brute takes a Spartan helmet and crushes it, you can feel that helmet being crushed. You can hear it being crushed. In previous installments, when you see them actually making cutscenes from the actual characters in the game, a lot of times it feels a little bit like plastic. Like you'll see a Spartan drop his helmet and it just kind of clinks a little bit on the floor, or same with the weapon. It's like they drop something that's a piece of plastic. But no, when Blur does it, they do it right. They could actually make a full-length Halo feature based off of just the Blur cutscenes alone. So major props for that, but here's the downside. Those cutscenes are barely in the game. Remember, in Halo Wars, you had a cutscene between nearly every single mission. In Halo Wars 2, you get some pretty awesome cutscenes for mission 1 and 2, but then it's a long time before you see the next one. And for me, that takes something away from the game. Even if the cutscenes hadn't been done by Blur, seeing the end cutscene for a mission, for me, is the reward for actually beating the mission. But here, they're barely in the game at all. Now, in terms of the gameplay graphics, yes, they have definitely been improved. They look better in general. I like the energy effects, I love the bullet effects, the modeling. The art style alone is fantastic, but at the same time, it's a little bland. Like I said earlier, this is a brute-controlled army, so instead of having multicolored vehicles, they're all just sort of gray and stone-like. I don't know, to me, it was just a little bit more boring. I liked the bright colors of the Covenant. What can I say? Tyrant likes bright colors. And the soundtrack to the game was fine, but personally, I prefer the Halo Wars soundtrack over the current one. Now let's talk about the actual gameplay. You have two types of missions that you'll come across. One is base building, the other is scout. Now first of all, the base building in this game is fun. It hasn't really changed from the original Halo Wars, but it can be tedious as hell. What do I mean by that? So the opposition in this game uses and abuses their leadership powers like crazy. You know what I'm talking about, that plasma bombardment, that weird red sparky thing. I don't know what it's called, so I've just started to call it the Allspark. And they use both of them at the same time consistently, like every few minutes. You'll be sitting there trying to build up your army ready to attack the other base, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, just blue hate comes out of the sky and you're done. It isn't going to wipe out all your units, but it'll wipe out a few of them and at least severely damage the other ones. So if you go into combat like that, you're going to get your ass handed to you. So now you have to take the time to build more units, and then as soon as you're ready to go off again, another plasma bombardment hits you. It is a vicious cycle. It's not so much challenging as it is frustrating. I'm hoping in a future update they at least dial that back a little bit. I'm not saying take it out of the game altogether, I'm just saying it shouldn't happen as much. And the scout missions were kind of a bust too. In Halo Wars, the original one, they were challenging, but in Halo Wars 2, they do put you in some kind of impossible scenarios. You have a mission with Spartan Alice where your goal is to actually free all the prisoners, and then you have to hold out at this research base. Doing that by itself on Legendary seems nearly impossible, but one of the side objectives is to keep all of your freaking troops alive. Maybe on lesser difficulties that's a thing, but on Legendary that's not going to happen. And if you are doing it, you're cheating. But my biggest qualm about this game so far has nothing to do with the actual content. This game is loaded with technical bugs. I don't know how many of you have experienced this, but when I'm trying to load a campaign mission, a lot of times it goes into that infinite load cycle, so it never actually loads the mission. So then I restart my console to see if maybe that does the trick, and then the game gets locked up in the infinite loading zone. So not only can I not select the mission now, I can't even load up the freaking game. And this is a big deal. A lot of people are going to exaggerate certain technical bugs and say that it makes the game impossible to play. Yeah, this actually literally makes the game impossible to play. You can't play it. And I'm really disappointed that something like this would actually slip by the development team before release. I've even had it happen a couple of times where I'd be about 90% of the way through a mission on Legendary and the game would just sort of seize up. The game wouldn't freeze, it would just start slowing down the frame rates to the point where it was completely unplayable. You could still hear everything in the background, you just couldn't do anything. I got so mad when I was experiencing these difficulties, I thought going into this, I was going to give this game a full price rating, hands down, until I started experiencing these bugs, and then I wanted to take it all the way down to rental. That's how much these bugs pissed me off and how unprofessional it is that this actually managed to make it to the public before release. Especially coming from 343 Industries and everything that happened with Master Chief Collection and Halo 5, I would never think this would happen again, but yet here we are. Okay, now I know that they're going to fix these bugs, and hopefully sooner rather than later. So I only allow them to weigh at least in part on my final rating of this game. But ultimately what this came down to is I went back and played the original Halo Wars and compared it to Halo Wars 2, and I'm not gonna lie, I actually appreciated the original campaign more, even though back in 2009 I couldn't play it on PC. I liked having the cutscenes between the missions, I liked the flow of the gameplay, I liked that the enemy never overly abused leader powers. The game had its challenges, but ultimately it felt more balanced and I had more fun with it. That's not to say you can't have fun with Halo Wars 2. Once they fix the technical bugs, this has the potential of being a really awesome game. Overall, I do like the game. I do have fun playing it. They definitely made some improvements over Halo Wars, while also falling short on others, unfortunately. So in the spirit of meeting myself halfway, I will say that Halo Wars 2 is worth buying if you can find it on sale. Guys, I really hope 343 manages to fix these bugs. I can see this game having a lot of potential. I'm really hoping that 343 actually manages to break this cycle of releasing either buggy games or incomplete games on release day. And 343, if you're watching, the only reason I'm critical is because I care and I love the product. Seriously, if I didn't care at all, I wouldn't even bother doing a review. So even though this wasn't my favorite Halo experience, it was still one worth having. And good news, it actually does tie into the present day Halo universe. So guys, Halo Wars 2, what did you think about it? Let me know in the comments below, or you can let me know on Facebook and Twitter, or better yet, tell me what your favorite all-time RTS game is. Links to my social media accounts can be found in the description, and if you like this video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button for more video game related content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on MythicTyrant.com. Thanks so much for watching, guys and gals. I'll see you right here next time, and as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.